wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Halo teman-teman PPI TV, saya Mia Putri menyiarkan secara langsung Sarasehan Arhanggas 2016 oleh Perwira Perwakilan Arhanggas didukung oleh KBRI Moskow dan Perwira Pusat di Kota Istimewa Arhanggas. Acara ini merupakan acara Sarasehan ketiga Perwira dan dihadiri langsung oleh Duta Besar Luar Biasa dan Berkuasa Penuh Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia Pak Muhammad Supriyadi, Delegasi Kedutaan Besar Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia juga akan diisi oleh 5 pembicara. 4 diantaranya adalah mahasiswa tamu dari Saint Petersburg dan Moskow. 1 pembicaranya adalah mahasiswa Arhanggas sendiri. Mari kita saksikan bersama-sama. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang terhormat Duta Besar Luar Biasa dan Berkuasa Penuh Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia Pak Muhammad Supriyadi. Yang kami hormati Delegasi Kedutaan Besar Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia serta mahasiswa tamu dan mahasiswa Arhanggas yang kami banggakan. Puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa atas perkenanannya kita bisa hadir di acara Sarasehan Arhanggas 2016 oleh Perwira Perwakilan Arhanggas didukung oleh KBRI Moskow dan Perwira Pusat di Kota Istimewa Arhanggas. Yang melatar belakangi acara ini adalah yang pertama, besarnya tantangan menuntut ilmu di Rusia dan kurangnya kegiatan mahasiswa dalam bidang pendidikan, dan yang kedua, minimnya pengetahuan masyarakat Indonesia terhadap ilmu dan teknologi Rusia. Adapun tujuan dari acara ini yaitu yang pertama, memotivasi dan meningkatkan semangat belajar serta budaya diskusi mahasiswa yang sedang menempuh pendidikan di Rusia, dan yang kedua, memperkenalkan keunikan ilmu pengetahuan Rusia ke masyarakat Indonesia. Hadirin yang saya hormati, atas nama pembawa acara izinkan saya membaca susunan acara sebagai berikut. Yang pertama, sambutan Ketua Persatuan Mahasiswa Indonesia di Rusia Muhammad Iksan Kiat. Yang ketiga, sambutan Duta Besar Luar Biasa dan Berkuasa Penuh Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia. Yang ketiga, presentasi. Yang keempat, penutup. Mari kita beranjak ke acara yang pertama, yaitu sambutan Ketua Persatuan Mahasiswa Indonesia di Rusia oleh Muhammad Iksan Kiat. Kepada saudara, disilahkan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu. Yang terhormat Bapak Duta Besar Luar Biasa dan Berkuasa Penuh Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Republik Belarusia, Pak Wahid Supriyadi. Yang kami hormati Pak Koordinator Fungsi Penerangan dan Sosial Budaya Pak Darmawan Suparno. Yang kami hormati Pak Koordinator Fungsi Ekonomi KBRI Moskow Pak Kiki. Dan Bapak Ibu KBRI yang kami hormati dan teman-teman sekalian yang sangat kami banggakan. Ya teman-teman, hari ini kita semua diberikan kesempatan oleh Tuhan yang Maha Baik untuk benar-benar berhimpun. Tidak hanya raga kita tapi juga pikiran, hati dan semangat persatuan kita terhimpun demi menjalankan kewajiban-kewajiban sebagai generasi penerus, kewajiban untuk memikirkan masa depan bangsa, kewajiban untuk mencerdaskan kehidupan dan mengupayakan kesejahteraan bangsa, kewajiban untuk meningkatkan harkat dan martabat bangsa. Berbicara mengenai budaya diskusi atau dialog, perlu diketahui bahwa 4 pilar kehidupan berbangsa kita itu merupakan hasil dari dialog para pendiri bangsa. Dan dengan demikian dialog merupakan salah satu bagian yang mempunyai peran penting dalam perkembangan bangsa Indonesia sebelum kemerdekaan dan sesudah kemerdekaan. Ya, teman-teman dan Bapak Ibu yang sangat saya banggakan, saudara-saudaraku, Indonesia saat ini adalah Indonesia kita semua, milik kita, modal kita, tanggung jawab kita. Dengan demikian keterlibatan kita bersama dalam membangun tanah air adalah syarat mutlak untuk Indonesia yang lebih maju. Saudara-saudara yang dirahmati Allah, perlu kita renungkan bahwa jumlah penduduk Indonesia prakemerdekaan adalah 70 juta dan 90% dari kakek nenek kita yang tinggal di kampung dan dijajah itu buta huruf. Mereka memiliki semua persyaratan untuk pesimis, tapi nyatanya mereka tak pernah putus asa. Dengan keberanian dan keyakinan yang kuat, mereka terangkul ke dalam sebuah persatuan Indonesia yang kemudian membawa mereka ke depan pintu gerbang kemerdekaan. Dan kemerdekaan itu kemudian mereka wariskan, hadiahkan kepada kita, generasi penerus. Dengan warisan itu, saudara-saudara, anak cucu mereka dapat merebut kembali hak asasi manusia yang selama ini berada di tangan penjajah. Hak untuk hidup, hak untuk tidak disiksa, hak kemerdekaan pikiran dan hati nurani, hak untuk tidak diperbudak, dan lain sebagainya. Dengan warisan itu, kita bisa belajar dengan tenang seperti sekarang ini. Dengan warisan itu, yang dulunya 90% buta huruf, sekarang masyarakat kita 90% melek huruf. Saudara-saudara yang dilindungi Allah, berlandaskan kesadaran yang mendalam akan pentingnya melanjutkan perjuangan para pendahulu untuk mewujudkan Indonesia yang sejahtera, adil dan makmur, saya kembali mengajak kalian untuk bergerak bersama ke depan. Hal-hal yang salah, marilah kita perbaiki. Yang kurang, marilah kita tambahkan. Yang samar kita perjelas, yang bengkok kita luruskan, dan yang jatuh kita bangkitkan. Saudara-saudara yang selalu dikuatkan Allah, kita harus berani, tulus, dan yakin. Janganlah kita ragu membuat terobosan baru. Walaupun terkesan sulit, butuh biaya, butuh tenaga, tapi selama idenya prospektif dan berkesinambungan, kenapa tidak kita coba? Kenapa tidak kita mulai? Kenapa tidak kita pikirkan bersama? Saudara-saudara yang selalu dirahmati Allah, perlu diingatkan bahwa kita pulang ke Indonesia bukan hanya sekedar menerapkan ilmu yang kita dapatkan, tapi kita mempersiapkan diri untuk memecahkan sekali lagi memecahkan permasalahan di tanah air. Dengan demikian saudara-saudara, sudah saatnya kita tidak hanya untuk menuntut ilmu, tetapi berbagi ilmu dan bertukar pikiran. Janganlah kita bermusuhan. Boleh kita berdebat, tapi janganlah kita bermusuhan. Jadikanlah teman diskusi, teman dialog kita sebagai motivasi untuk berkembang, karena tujuan kita sama, yakni untuk menjadikan Indonesia jaya. Kita wajib dan perlu hadirkan ide-ide cemerlang yang dapat mempermudah pembangunan. Perlu kita ciptakan suasana ilmiah yang inklusif melalui dialog interaktif dan interdisiplin. Saudara-saudaraku yang dilindungi Allah, perlu direnungkan, setelah ini kita akan mempertanggungjawabkan peran kita kepada Tuhan dan penerus-penerus kita, dan penerus-penerus dari penerus-penerus kita, bahwa di era ini kita tidak tinggal diam, tapi kita wariskan Indonesia yang berdiri tegak untuk semuanya. Saudara-saudara yang selalu didoakan, mari kita bergotong royong dan bertukar pikiran dengan kerendahan hati untuk membuat sebuah rencana pergerakan ke depan yang konkret dan inklusif. Semoga dengan diadakannya acara Sarasehan ini, kami, mahasiswa Indonesia di Rusia, dapat dan bapak-bapak KBRI dapat memotivasi dan meningkatkan semangat belajar serta budaya diskusi pelajar-pelajar Indonesia, tidak hanya di Rusia tapi di seluruh dunia, serta memperkenalkan ilmu pengetahuan Rusia ke masyarakat Indonesia. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayat. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Salam perhimpunan.
Selanjutnya sambutan oleh Duta Besar Luar Biasa dan Berkuasa Penuh Republik Indonesia untuk Federasi Rusia dan Belarusia, sekaligus membuka dengan resmi acara Sarasehan 2016 Arhangelsk. Kepada Bapak, disilahkan.
Yang saya hormati Ketua Permira Rusia, Saudara Ihsan, kawan-kawan dari KBRI yang kebetulan bersama-sama saya hari ini melakukan kunjungan kerja ke Arhangelsk, dan juga teman-teman dari Permira seluruh Rusia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pertama saya ingin mengucapkan selamat kepada Permira Rusia yang berhasil menyelenggarakan sebuah Sarasehan di salah satu kota hampir paling ujung di utara, di Arhangelsk ini. Saat ini temperatur di luar menunjukkan minus 25. Mungkin bagi teman-teman yang sekarang menikmati musim panas ya saya ucapkan selamat ya. Tapi di sini juga dengan udara yang sangat dingin, saya menghargai kawan-kawan Permira dengan semangat tetap menjalankan acara sarasian yang saya nilai sangat bermanfaat bagi kita semua. Kawan-kawan semua, kita tahu bahwa di tengah pertumbuhan ekonomi yang stagnan, tapi syukur alhamdulillah kita sampai kuartal kedua bisa meningkatkan pertumbuhan ekonomi itu sampai 5,2 dan diperkirakan pada tahun ini kita bisa bertahan di 5,1. Ini satu achievement yang saya kira luar biasa. Ini satu pertumbuhan yang terbesar nomor 3 di dunia setelah Cina dan India, dan itu tentunya kita sambut baik, dan prediksi tahun depan juga more or less akan sama seperti pertumbuhan tahun ini, dan setelah itu diperkirakan akan meningkat seiring dengan selesainya sebagian dari pembangunan infrastruktur. Tetapi tentu saja tantangan tidak berhenti. Kita sebenarnya termasuk beruntung, dan berbagai analis ekonomi memperkirakan bahkan pada tahun 2030 kita akan menjadi kekuatan ekonomi nomor 5 atau 6 dunia. Nah, ini merupakan satu tantangan sendiri, dan ini yang harus dijawab oleh kita semua, khususnya oleh generasi muda, dan lebih khusus lagi pada anggota Permira dan juga PPI dunia. Tentunya ke depan tidak akan lebih mudah, karena juga persaingan akan semakin besar. Khusus dengan kawan-kawan yang di Rusia, saya mencatat ada beberapa hal yang menarik. Pertama, misalnya dari jumlah mahasiswa yang sekarang berkisar 370-an, tetapi juga baru saja kita tambah 50, jadi lebih dari 420-an saat ini pelajar Indonesia yang ada di Rusia, dan ini menunjukkan kecenderungan yang positif, dan saya mengantisipasi akan lebih banyak lagi. Karena juga ke depan universitas-universitas di Rusia juga akan menawarkan selain beasiswa tambahan, tetapi juga menawarkan untuk mahasiswa private. Ini saya kira perlu disyukuri, karena banyak mungkin yang belum tahu potensi Rusia, dan ini saya kira hal yang kita harus lakukan bersama-sama. Selama di Rusia hampir atau 8 bulan tepatnya, saya telah mengunjungi 14 region, provinsi dan negara bagian, dan ini yang ke-14. Dan dari kunjungan itu saya mencatat banyak hal yang menarik sebenarnya yang bisa kita kerjasamakan dengan Rusia. Seperti diketahui, ekonomi Rusia merupakan peringkat ke-12 dan kita peringkat 16, tetapi total perdagangan sangat minimal, hanya sekitar 2 miliar. Nah, kita perlu genjot ini untuk meningkatkan perdagangan dan investasi yang setelah kunjungan Presiden Jokowi bulan Mei yang lalu, kami mencatat banyak sekali minat di kedua belah pihak. Baru saja juga saya selesai berdiskusi 1 jam lebih dengan Kadin Arhangels, dan ternyata juga di kota yang mungkin salah satu yang terdingin di Rusia, penduduknya mungkin hanya sekitar 450.000, tetapi saya mencatat beberapa potensi, termasuk diantaranya adalah teknologi di bidang energi yang sangat efisien yang bisa diterapkan di Indonesia. Bahkan perusahaan di Arhangels ini juga tidak segan untuk melakukan investasi di Indonesia. Ini satu peluang ya. Kemudian juga banyak hal yang kita bicarakan, misalnya di bidang pariwisata, karena ini masyarakat di sini kurang mendapatkan matahari ya, jadi mereka ternyata betul tadi saya sudah tanyakan, mereka dapat insentif untuk keluar dari Arhangels pada musim-musim liburan, bahkan mereka juga dapat subsidi, dan ini juga satu peluang yang bisa kita manfaatkan. Kemudian juga dari sisi Indonesia kita menawarkan produk-produk kita yang ke depan saya kira akan jauh lebih banyak, karena dari hasil festival kemarin kita juga akan memiliki sebuah display di Food City yang produk-produk kita makanan khususnya bisa masuk ke Rusia. Nah, saya menghargai kawan-kawan Permira ini melakukan sarasian ini yang saya kira sangat bermanfaat. Kita di sini bisa lebih banyak konsentrasi selain menimba ilmu, tapi juga membangun network dan apa yang bisa kawan-kawan berikan kepada negara. Sebagai penutup, sekali lagi ucapkan selamat dan dengan senang hati pada sore hari ini Sarasian Permira yang dimotori oleh Permira Nasional Rusia secara resmi dibuka. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Kita beranjak ke acara inti, yaitu presentasi. Selanjutnya saya serahkan ke moderator Eka Sukawati.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sore dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Perkenalkan, nama saya Eka Sukawati. Saya sebagai moderator Sarasehan Arhangels 2016. Untuk mempersingkat waktu, marilah kita mulai dengan presentasi yang pertama. Presentasi yang pertama akan dibawakan oleh Muhammad Ardi, mahasiswa S3 Political Problem of International Relations, Global and Religion Development MGIMO Moskow, dengan tema memposisikan kepentingan Indonesia di Arktik. Kepada Saudara Muhammad Ardi, kami persilahkan.
Halo, ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Excellency, Bapak Muhammad Wahid, Bapak Wahid Supriyadi, and others, Gaspadin Pasli. The first that today is a really great opportunity for me to have presentation in front of you. The first topic that I will be bringing today is the positioning Indonesia's interest in the Arctic. This is something that really important in my perception, because unlike other Southeast Asian countries, the knowledge about Arctic for Indonesians are still really limited. But before speaking about this thing, I want to speak something that may be a little bit funny. When I was in Paris, and then I was meeting with one of Indonesian politician, and I said that I'm studying in Russia, and then I'm studying about the Arctic geopolitics, and then he was speaking directly to me like this. You are taking a geopolitics Arctic? Yes, I am. Really interesting. And then what kind of politics between beer and penguin? So this is something that really amazed about the knowledge of the Arctic. On the other hand, Arctic brings so much potential. Talking about the Arctic, let's move to our first presentation. Arctic contains with 8 Arctic nations. Those are Alaska, United States, Russia, Norway, Iceland, Denmark with Greenland, and etc. This is something that really untouchable before. But for nowadays, with the dynamics of the economical things, Arctic much more global. The question is why they are more global right now. This is something that we have to know. Yeah, that thing. It was taken on September 2016. The ice is melting. The ice is melting. When the ice melting means that will be any problem. Everything happens in the Arctic will bringing all of for all countries. But the question is, many people not think that as a threat, but they think as a good potential. Becoming question is, what kind of potential can Arctic brings? Talking about the melting things, 2007, many scientists believe that the war will not be coming from the nuclear area, but they will be coming from climate change. So climate change is really related with the Arctic things. And then to continue to the potential studies, what is the potential of the Arctic? The first is when the ice melting, they open the access of the many huge potential natural resources. They do have oil, LNG, and also natural gas. For the oil things, they do have more than 90 million cubic barrel, and also 2,000 of natural gas, and then 44 million LNG. This is something really huge amount. For the oil, for the example, they do have 20% of world oil reserve for this for the moment. And then not only talk about the oil, but Arctic also talk about the new of potential route. Right now, we are doing with the Suez Canal things, but 2020, they will go directly from the north, Norway to the Asia. And then the study said that the NSR or North Sea route, they are reducing more than 40% of transport cost cargo, and then they are much more safe, and they are cutting 9 until 13 days for the transport cargo. And then when we are speaking about the North Sea Road, many people said, it will be later. No, this is not later. Russia has already made their Northern Sea Road Information Office. It's an administration in Murmansk and also in Arkhangelsk, but mostly in Murmansk things. And then if we can see this thing, they have been making since 2011 until 2015. The biggest one was 2013, which were any 73 ships cargo brings from Europe to Asia through the NSR. And then DNV, or Norwegian Classified Company, they said that in 2030, there will be any 430 cargo ships will go through the NSR. And then talking about the potential, we have to know that Arctic is something that really fragile. Everything happens in the Arctic will be bringing all of the things in all of countries. So Arctic doesn't think about the natural gas or something, but they are thinking about what research. So many scientists believe that dominance of research will be pointing in the Arctic. So this is those are the research centers which talking all about the Arctic and then the phenomenon. And then for example, many of countries, they are using New Alcyon, is a New Alcyon for hold on. Yeah, it is France, Germany, Italy, Norway, and Japan, and South Korea. They do have that research center for the Arctic there, and also Singapore. Well, when the region, they do have a lot of potential, and SMS, they also fragile, but on the other hand, still many countries thinks about how can they survive with that condition. They give only 2 minutes again? Oh, come on. Okay. But this is how do they protect all the Arctic things is something that's really important for this moment. The global warming has resulted in major changes in the Arctic natural condition, and the Arctic countries have begun to pay attention to the development of the Arctic. Regarding the Arctic as the new Middle East in the energy resource, the new lifeline in the global and economy, and new commanding point in world military affairs, they have increased input in scientific research, political, economic, and military activities, make effort to dominate the future Arctic affairs. So China has already think that the Arctic will be really important, and even they compare the Arctic as the new Middle East. For this thing, study about the Arctic studies, there are only 3 hierarchies of those things. The first hierarchy is the Arctic states and also indigenous people. It's really important for Southeast Asian countries to study, because the indigenous people, they are including together with those Arctic states. Is really important, because how ASEAN treats the indigenous people is not the same as like the Arctic the Arctic Council. This is Arctic Council which held in Kiruna 2013. And then talking about mapping Asia, this is information that since 2013 there are only 5 ASEAN countries in the Arctic, in the Arctic Council. Those are India, China, South Korea, Japan, and Singapore. Singapore, they are our neighbor, is already in the Arctic, and then the question is what are they doing in the Arctic, and then what they want to get in charge in the Arctic. There are only 5 things or 16 that they want to get in charge. The first is new possibility of energy resources, less dependent on Middle East energy. The second is North Sea Road economic prospect. The third is ready to sell maritime industry, asking freedom and research, threatened by Arctic possibilities, Asia's most ambitious in the Arctic, and readiness exploring. But this is something that all countries, maybe we can see how Singapore react with the Arctic things. Ready to sell maritime industry. As we know that Russia right now is making the icebreaker nuclear with Kapal Marine, and at the same time they also making many potential with the Arctic. Becoming question why Singapore wants to do that, because we know Singapore has a lifeblood with the transit, and then while the North Sea Road will be existing, it means that it will erode the income for Singapore. Then they are making the other industry. And the second is threatened by Arctic possibilities. Threatened by Arctic possibilities. While the Arctic is melting, it means that will be many flood come to that country. The question is how country prevent.
1 minute more.
Huh? What?
We give you 1 minute more.
Okay, 1 minute. I can finish this thing. So how Indonesia position in the Arctic? The first that we have to know is 70% of the world natural disaster occurs in Asia, including Indonesia. The second is Arctic issues are global importance. That Indonesia also as a big country, we have to know the Arctic. And then the third one is the Arctic ice melts. It means that the new rules for shipping and fishing are needed, and the South Korea should be present when the new rules are formulated. The question is why Indonesia doesn't do that thing. This is something important. When the ice melting, it means will be any new rules and for shipping and also for fishing. Then, what does Indonesia want? The first is should be asking the freedom of research. We have to be in charge because we know that our shipping, they are mostly talking about the traditional things, and then what happens for flooding and something, it will broken our livelihood, and also we do have many disasters, and as we know that we have a rice field near from the ocean. When the ocean will erode, not erode. Yeah, that thing, it means it will be broke. It will break all of the livelihood for farmers. This is something that really important. And the new possibilities of Arctic resources, as what people already know. Regional competitors are also not quite ready yet. This is important, but I will be telling later. Indonesia talking in the Arctic is not really something new. To 2014, President of Iceland has already invited Indonesia directly to Indonesia to go to Arctic Circle, but Indonesia didn't react this thing. While many countries like Singapore, Japan, South Korea, India, they were going to Iceland to give what they could do. But we didn't appreciate with this invitation. This is really Sazelenio. This is something that really regretful. And then, while the Sochi also began, basically what Russia gives, somehow they choose they choose the friends, or they choose that country. Any country gives that thing, any country gives that thing. But while in the Sochi before, basically what Russia and Singapore have done was that thing: join Arctic research to benefit Russia and Singapore. This is the website original from Sochi conference in my last May. Then Vietnam enters the Arctic oil business. This is something that we are a big country, Indonesia, but we don't have any this knowledge. On the other hand, many countries doing this thing. And then Vietnam has been doing. So, this is all of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Oke, dibuka sesi pertanyaan. 2 pertanyaan.
Можно in English, Paruski. Ya, Pak. Ya.
That it is really something new to myself. How Indonesia could engage in the Arctic region, and then you have touched about some point that we could the possibility to start our site in the Arctic area. Indeed, that this is really what you call, on my point of view, that is really geographically far away from Indonesia. And then this is interesting that we have some meeting with Ambassador today, and several points that we got during our meeting with the governor, with the rector, and also with the Chamber of Commerce today, that actually there is something, the other thing else that we could do in the region of Arctic, so that I'm not really asking you, but I just probably to enrich your presentation, the thing that we could do also in the field of tourism. This is really a new point, and then I myself found that this is my first time to be in Archangels, and last night only that when I was going to bed, and then I turned on the YouTube just to to know my obsession, what's going on in Archangels during the summertime. And then before I came to Archangels, that my relatives also told me that please try to be in Archangels and to catch the aurora. I think that this is also good for Archangels to promote their tourism. And then the other thing, the other side that we also promote our tourism potential to Archangels people. It is mentioned today that it used to be a direct charter flight from Archangels to Indonesia, but unfortunately that's really can stop right now. I think that was taken by the Trans-Aero probably. So I think that this could be part of your presentation, that one of sector that you could also add to your presentation. Thank you very much.
Can I reply? The first is this thing, sir. Arctic something that we really never touched that field. On the other hand, that climate change is really happening right now, and then we should know that when the climate change begin, and then it will affect to our country. This is something that we have to be in charge as soon as possible. This is something that I want to stress. Thank you.
Oke, satu pertanyaan lagi. Dipersilakan.
Oke, thank you, Pak. I just to know about the especially Arctic region, but I just want to know. No, give me suggestion. just not like this. What the Indonesian benefit to make relationship, especially for economic and trade between Indonesian and Arctic. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. This is really important. What do I want to stress in here is this thing. Maybe for this moment, I'm not speaking about what kind of the beneficial for Indonesia to get in charge in the Arctic. There's something that we have to know, that how can we give the knowledge for Indonesian people what is something in the Arctic. This is the first step. The second is like this. We do. Our countries right now is really dynamic, and then if we are not going really fast, it means that we will be left behind. Then our neighbors, Singapore, they has been doing this thing, good. Vietnam, they are doing this thing, good. And then, as we know that 70% of cargo from Suez Canal, while they are doing transit, maybe in Malaysia or Indonesia or in Singapore, mostly 70% they will go directly to go to China, South Korea, or in Japan. But the thing is like this: when the North Sea Road will be existing, fully existing, it means that it will reduce our economic things, and we have to realize that what can we do again when our income get reducing. I mean, it get reducing because Singapore right now, they are making shipbuilding. They are making shipbuilding, especially in the Arctic, and also they are making Arctic technology for offshore and that Arctic technology for doing drilling offshore. They are thinking, not talking about what can they do in 5 or 10 years, but why can they go for 50 years? While the North Sea Road will be happening, it will distract their lifeblood. And also SMS Indonesia, why don't we think that thing? And then talking about the regional competitor is not really ready yet. When I was in Singapore, and then I was meeting with 2 LIPI delegations, and then we were speaking about the Arctics. At the same time, we were speaking also people from Singapore and also from Vietnam. And then, in my opinion, in my perception, they also really know about this field. It means Indonesia, we are still able to get in charge for our young scholars, academicians. We are still able to get know this thing more. This is something that I just want to tell that, hey, any new potential, hey, any new Middle East, why don't we know this field? Why don't we go forward? Not talking about Southeast Asian countries anymore, but we go something that really further. That's what I want to tell. Thank you.
Pak Kiki udah dijawab.
Oh, I'm not asking.
Okay, but would you give me the position? The first thing, if you want to see the region is a positioning, and then what the position in between Indonesia and Arctic, and then you make the SWOT first. The SWOT, what the benefit between Indonesia and Arctic. I think it's better like this, and then for me, Singapore is always think the first, but this is not the. Because of I just want to visit Chambers Commerce in here. For me, not only energy, not only Arctic like Middle East, but energy also. We need energy because, as you know, in Indonesia right now, our energy already many reduced. That's why mapping is one step is technology, one step is market, and then like this. I need like this, but you already explained everything. It's no problem. I'm more actually I want to make you mapping more detail about this. Okay.
Make it fast, please.
replying your question, sir, this is the 3 steps that actually Indonesia should think about. The first is asking the freedom of research, because when you don't have any status in the Arctic Council, you are not able to get any research there. And then why Singapore needs to get freedom of research, because they want to get the first hand of data and etc. The second is the threatened by Arctic possibilities. Arctic possibilities threatened when I told you about the NSR, North Sea Road, we are also threatened. But the third is the new possibility of Arctic sources. Actually, you have already told me also talking about Indonesia needs the energy or something. This is, how do I say, something that we have to talk about right now for Indonesian academician. Maybe that thing, sir. Thank you.
Video ini dipersembahkan oleh Permira. Buat kalian yang pengen tahu lebih lanjut tentang Rusia, bisa search di Google atau buka web kami di ppi-rusia.org. Di sana ada banyak informasi dan artikel seputar Rusia. Salam Permira, salam perhimpunan.